2018 is right around the corner, and it's a time when many people start thinking about making a serious career change. Here with some advice on how to help make that happen is career coach and author Sarah Vermunt. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing, and I did a double take when I read this. When people are thinking about a career change, you say don't look at job postings.
Not right away. It's
Okay.
super counterintuitive,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so here's why. Usually if you hate your job, you hit the job postings because you desperately want out of your job.
Yeah.
But a lot of people hate their job but don't know what they actually want to do
Okay.
instead. So if you're looking at job postings without knowing what you actually want, it's kind of like fumbling around in the dark. It actually just makes you more frustrated. You need to know what you're looking for first.
Okay.
So it's like clarity first, strategy second.
But looking at those postings couldn't give you a sense of, some people might look at it and say, oh, I didn't know, but that does sound interesting to me.
Yeah, it can let you know what's out there, but on the other side of that coin, it could make you really frustrated because you're just going through listings and listings and listings of postings and not really knowing where you belong.
So knowing what you don't want doesn't mean you know what you want.
That's right. It's an okay starting place.
Right.
But you need to get a little more focused and a little more clear first.
Okay, now where do we stand on sharing this feeling with our friends and family, with others, to say, I'm thinking of making a career change?
Yeah, you might not want to share that with everyone right away, or you might want to be selective about who you share that information with, because as anyone who's made a career change might know, or anyone who's thinking about a career change might know, sometimes the people who love you the most aren't always necessarily the most supportive about your decisions.
Okay, yeah.
So you'll probably get a lot of unsolicited feedback about what choices you're making, and that can actually muddy the waters a little bit. So I always tell my clients, at least, to sort of get clear on your own about what you want before you start having a lot of conversations with family and friends about what they think you should do.
Okay, but you've presented us with a sort of an interesting challenge, because you're saying don't go to the online resources and don't go to the people that we would traditionally rely on for advice, for help on that next step. So what are we supposed to do?
Well, you can start looking around and you can talk to a few select family and friends about what it is you want, but you want to be intentional about who that is, right? Also, we live in this digital world, so a lot of people want to do all of their research online. I actually recommend being a little bit old school and actually reaching out to people who are doing the interesting work you think you might want to do, like reaching out to them in person.
So this is once we decide what we know we want to do.
Yeah, or even what you're thinking about.
Okay.
So if there's, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 things you're thinking about moving into, but you're not sure which direction to go, actually reach out to some people in real life, not on Instagram, not just on Twitter, to see what the work is actually like. Because you might see some very glamorous careers on Instagram, but you need to talk to real people in the real world to see what it's like, the good, the bad, the ugly, about all of the things you're considering before you make a big decision about jumping into something new.
Let's talk a little bit about managing expectations, because in this world where we see those commercials on TV, they're telling us that dream job is just a few clicks away. What should people know these days about making that transition?
Well, there's a few things you should know. A lot of people think that you need to go back to school to make a career change, and that's not always true. And that's something that you can learn more about by talking to people doing the actual work. Also, you should know it's not usually an overnight thing, right? So you see people's happy fairy tale stories about the career change, but very often it takes them a while for their job search before they land the great gig. And even before that, it takes them a while to figure out what they want to do. So having some realistic expectations about how long it might take will make you a little bit less stressed about the process.
Now, you've talked about career ingredients. What's that about?
Well, sometimes when you're thinking about making a career change, it can be really hard to figure out exactly your dream job title right away. So I like to ask people to just think about career ingredients. So those are the things you want more of in your career. So for example, maybe you're in a career that's too administrative and you want something more creative. Or maybe you have a lot of really solitary work and you'd prefer more interaction. So start thinking about the tasks you like, the kinds of people you like to be around, the environments that you enjoy being in. Those are your career ingredients, and that's a pretty good place to start.
Well, what if the career that you want, what if you decide you know what you want, but you're lacking one key skill? You have pretty much everything you need except for one thing that's really the barrier to entry into that job that you believe is going to make you happy. How would somebody go about getting a skill like that, maybe before having to taking the risk of leaving their job?
Depends on the skill. One of the best ways you can do it is to be a little bit sneaky and try and acquire the skill in your current job so that you can take it elsewhere.
Yeah.
You probably don't need a whole extra degree, but maybe there's a night course you
Sure.
want to take, or even an online course that can just bump up that skill for you.
All right, well, all great advice going into 2018. Thank you so much for being
You're
here.
so welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.